Hello, everybody, and welcome back to What We're Into. This is the show where you guessed it, we talk about what we're into. I'm your host, DJ Wooldridge. With me, as always, is Roxy Stryer. Hello, Roxy.
What's up, DJ?
Ooh, you're coming in hot today, Roxy. You got a lot to
Ooh,
talk about, which is good.
listen,
Because
I have a lot to talk about and things that I cannot talk about. So,
can you wait? There's one main thing that can you even you're allowed to mention
I am
that.
allowed to say that I saw it.
Okay, great. Well, that's
And
fine
that
because
is the full extent of what I'm allowed to say.
okay.
I'll give you everything I can.
Okay, all right,
And
all
next
right.
game's
Well, that's
done and I can
fine.
talk about that.
That's fine because I'm in the stage of the less I know the better. I'm sold. I don't need to be sold anymore. I'm sold.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so this is the show. We're just going through a bunch of stuff. This episode is actually it's going to be early for patrons, but it's also going to be dropped to the public feed so that you guys can get a taste of what you're missing if you're not a patron. To all our patrons, thank you. Literally couldn't do the show without you. If you watch this and you're like, oh my God, you guys talk about all these different shows and these different movies? Yeah, we do over at patreon.com/onlystupid-answers. I think it's like $5 to just once a month. So it's like a little over a week to check out episodes of this and Spider-Versity. Sal and I are moving Krypton Academy over to the Patreon to cover Superman, the animated series. So much over there. If you want to throw a little bit more money into the pot, you can watch these videos live and early, ad-free. Oh my God. Also, as I mentioned in previous videos, if you missed the Kickstarter for my comic, Danger Boy, you can go to dangerboycomic.com, click the pre-order store link. It'll take you to the pre-order store. Letters are finished. Colors are almost halfway done. We are approaching the end zone on this one. So the pre-order store will probably be closing soon. So you don't want to miss out on that if you didn't already. And also, as we've mentioned on other stuff, movies and shows good, vibes bad, and we at this show are trying to do the best that we can to maybe make the vibes a little bit better. Ooh, feels like a losing battle most days, but hey, we're doing the best we can. So every month I'm choosing a different charity to kind of like direct people to maybe some stuff that is harder for individuals to impact. This month's charity is Children in Conflict, who's working all across the world to transform the lives of children living through crisis, conflict, and war by providing emergency protection, education, mental health support, and community advocacy. If you guys have suggestions for other charities, next month we're going to be doing a different one. Also, as I always mention, love giving to charity. It's great for stuff like when you're talking about children in conflict. That's hard for us as individuals to impact directly. But I also think it's very important to try and do stuff in your own community to make things better for people and to try and help improve the vibe. Speaking of improving the vibe, Roxy,
Yes,
I'm so jealous of you because you've
I
seen
know.
Superman.
I understand your feelings.
Like, I'm happy for you. Don't
Yeah.
get me wrong.
So let me tell you what I can tell you. I was just going about my week and wondering when and how, DJ, are you and I going to be able to see this movie?
Yep.
I also have an extremely strange month where right now, DJ, I'm living the U life. My entire apartment is covered in baby stuff, changing tables, because my little niece is coming to stay with me. So I've been very
Wow.
focused on. I've got a whole. I'm calling it club layout. My whole place is covered in baby stuff,
Yeah.
and my whole family's coming to town for the first time in 15 years. So
Wow.
my mind has been focused. And I
Yeah.
was, and that's leading us like basically right up to when Superman's coming. So I'm like, am I really going to be somebody who ditches my family to go to see Superman? And we found out that the answer is yes, because on the day my father came, I got a text message the day before from Greg Alba, who was like,
Yeah.
hey, do you want to attend this? The rejects are getting, me and John both have +1s. I'm going to take my wife, Olivia. I told John that you are like the DC nut. Koya
Yeah.
already had an invite on his own because all the DC stuff. And I was like, cancel all my plans, Dad. I'm so sorry. You
Yeah.
watch the NBA draft. I'll be back. I am going to Warner Brothers to watch Superman. That's like truly the choice that I made. And I will tell you guys on July 7th if that was the right choice to make, because I believe that's when the embargo is lifted.
Okay. All right.
So what the event was James Gunn and Peter Safran came out to introduce the movie. We saw the movie. We were very specifically told and signed that you can't talk about any part of the movie. You can't even tease what your feelings are for the movie. So that's why when people are like, "Oh, online, like she must have felt this way or that way because she's not saying anything." Nope, it's just an embargo, so
Yep.
can't say anything. And then afterwards, I posted on Real Rejects Instagram and on my own, but when we came out, there was all of the costumes
Oh,
of
cool.
and like little blurbs and stuff, and also little gifts for everybody, like a cape and a shirt and stuff. And there was James Gunn meet and greeting with people and talking about the film.
That's wild.
And then like a food truck and a whole sitch, which I did not participate in because at that point I was like, okay, I can go back to my father now.
Yeah.
But that's what we've been able to post so far. And the specifics of our conversation are relevant to the movie, so I can't really talk about it. But what I will say is that James Gunn was so lovely,
Cool.
so passionate. He told us he just got back from, I want to say, Brazil.
Okay.
And he was like 2 hours ago, and I haven't slept in 7 days, and I am tired, and this movie was hard to make, and I am so happy to be here. Okay, my eyes are open. Like you can just tell he really wants to be there, but also is exhausted. But was really, really like great with his time. Spoke to every person, waited, like took photos with everybody who wanted to.
That's
Didn't
awesome.
leave his face. That was really cool to see somebody like rep their movie that way.
Yeah.
And to be there at the beginning and at the end means that that man was on the lot for hours. So that was really cool to be able to meet him and tell him my thoughts. And that was kind of the extent of the event. It was something that I like feel like I'm ripping at the seams to talk about.
Understandably.
And yeah, man, I cannot wait until the 7th so that like things can be discussed. I can't wait until the 11th so that more can be discussed.
Leonard Kim in the chat, which again, you can watch live and be part of the chat by going to patreon.com/onlystupidanswers. Leonard Kim says, ditching your father was the right choice.
Thank you so much for the
I'll say that same day I got last minute notice on a different movie. I won't say the movie, but a different movie screening. And I was trying to figure out, like, it was last minute. I'm like, I guess if I rush, I could make it. And I was telling my wife about it, and she's like, and there was some confusion about whether I meant Superman. I'm like, well, if it was Superman, this wouldn't be a question.
Right.
I would have gone. This movie, I'm like, if I'd had more notice, maybe. But Superman, I'm going.
Yeah, totally. I also, my Leonard, and people know this, but the day of the screening was at 4, and I had a big doctor's appointment with Grammy that day at 1 across town. And so I was like, am I going to successfully do this?
Yep. Mission
and
accomplished.
I have never hustled a 98-year-old almost woman faster in my. I was like, "Come on, let's go! Here we go! Next step, there we go!" So, like basically carry her. She was like, "What is going on?" I was like, "I am going to see Superman, and unless it is a detriment to your health for us to move quickly, we are moving as quickly as we can possibly move."
Yep, as fast as we can go.
And I was in my Superman outfit at the doctor's office, and everybody was just like, "Oh, you're so excited for Superman." I was like, you have no idea.
Yeah.
I'm on my way there. Get me out of here.
That's awesome. I'm excited to talk with you more about it, especially once I've seen it. So for people that aren't familiar with what we're into, we bounce around. There should be links in the description about which things we talk about. Most of it will be spoiler free. We'll let you know when it's spoiler. So this next one's going to be spoiler free because Roxy's seen it and I haven't. She saw F1, which was directed by Joseph Kosinski, written by Aaron Kruger and Joseph Kosinski. The synopsis is a Formula One driver comes out of retirement to mentor and team up with a younger driver. Roxy, what did you think of F1?
I think that, first of all, backing up for 1 second, this movie was also kind of difficult to get screenings to. I was
Hmm.
invited as a +1 from my friend, Jess Lucero, who she came on the show to talk to us about
Yep.
social media and all. So
Yeah.
friend of this show, Jess Lucero,
Hmm.
because this was very tight. And when things are that tight, sometimes I'm wondering, like, is the movie good? Is it not good? So, but I had really wanted to see it because people who went to early screenings of this, I had heard that this was one of the best movies of the year, which was,
Yeah.
I was like, huh, that's an interesting. F1's one of the best movies of the year.
Hmm.
Then you look a little more into it. Obviously, the trailer was really good. This is the team that did Maverick.
Yeah.
It kind of makes sense that this would be gangbusters. And this is maybe, as I've gotten older, I've come to admit, and I think that sports dramas is my favorite genre of film. Uh,
Yeah.
I I just am such a sports fan, but more than that, they're so epic. But typically, it's sports dramas like Miracle that happened.
Hmm. Hmm.
And F1 is not based on anything. It's just
Yeah.
kind of like Top Gun Maverick. It's made up,
Yeah.
as movies are allowed to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Top Gun Maverick is made up until the events depicts literally happened a couple weeks ago. Like, oh, this nation has enriching uranium. We've got to go unilaterally and blow stuff up. It's like, wait,
So you think it's a predictor? It's
I don't know, but I was watching a video that was like, you guys realize that Top Gun Maverick, that was the plot of that movie is what happened. I'm like, that's weird.
Well, good. I would
That's
actually
weird.
really like it. Not good for that.
Yeah.
If F1 actually happened, that would be cool because
Okay, cool, good. Stakes are a little bit lower.
Yeah.
Just a scooch lower.
this is a sport I know nothing about, though. I can name one race car driver in the history of race car drivers, and it's Danica Patrick.
Oh, okay, I was thinking Dale Earnhardt, which I think is right, but Danica Patrick is another one. Yes, so we
I don't-
named the two between the two of
Yeah.
us.
So, and that's the extent of it. But if you're going to do a sport that a lot of people don't know, and a lot of people do, it's a pretty cool one because anybody can like watching driving fast cars. Like,
Yeah.
and they made it really clear what the rules were and how the points worked and whatever in a way that didn't seem like it was beating you over the head. It was like an artistic choice of how they did it. So I was never confused or lost, which was so good. This movie is excellent. It's one of my favorites of the year. It is such a fun summer movie. A lot of people are asking me, is it as good as Top Gun Maverick? I think it's not quite a fair comparison because of the legacy of Top Gun going into Top Gun Maverick. So no, I don't prefer this to Top Gun Maverick, but it's in the conversation. And that is pretty unbelievable. I love this cast, and they're not very famous. Brad Pitt obviously is very, very famous. But there was a lot of people in this where I was like, who is that? Like, even Carrie Condon, I know, but she's not like an A-list celebrity. Jameson Idris, who is from a show called Snowfall, I believe, that I didn't watch.
Oh yeah, he's good in that. I watched the first season, and he was good in that season.
I'd never seen him before.
Yeah.
He reminds me a lot of Miles Teller. They are very similar, like confident, borderline cocky, the young one in the room who is really skilled and could learn from the older dude.
Yeah.
I don't even just mean Miles Teller's characters. Like they just give the same energy off. So, and I love Miles Teller performances. So this was like, I thought he was amazing. Not to mention, no offense to Miles Teller, he's a handsome man too, but this man is just so beautiful. So, it doesn't hurt to have a gorgeous movie star on the screen. Javier Bardem is in this. He does a great job too. And then there was a couple of weird flashes of like one time I turned to my friend and was like, was that the girl from Bridgerton? She's literally on screen for 4 seconds.
Oh, they cut her. I heard about this, that she was in. There's a whole subplot that they cut.
I was like, what?
Yeah.
What?
That's wild.
But you see her for a quick second.
Yeah.
But no speaker or anything. And I was like, oh, what? Like,
is that
I'm
a
pretty
cameo?
sure that was
What's
just
going
her.
on?
Like,
Yeah.
That was kind of funny and crazy. But in general, I thought they did a great job with the story. I heard about some of the things that they cut and kind of makes sense for the timing. This is already a lengthy movie, but it doesn't feel lengthy. It really moves. It looks awesome. The score and soundtrack are amazing. It's Hans Zimmer. So that makes sense. I think this is such a good one to see in theaters. It's great timing for it to come out. I can't say enough good things about this movie. I get why people loved it so much. Um, where there are like a couple of lines that were a little corny and cheesy that are like, did you write that line for the trailer specifically?
Mm-hmm.
Sure, but for
Yeah,
the
yeah,
most
yeah.
part, I loved it. And DJ, I think you're really gonna enjoy yourself watching this.
I think I will. I think I will. The one thing, and we don't need to get bogged down into it because it's not something we're going to come. Recently I've been thinking a lot about like the Brad Pitt of it all with his, the stuff going on in his personal life, and it's like where do because we were having this conversation recently with the Harry Potter stuff. It's like where do I draw my line? Like where do I draw my lines about stuff? You know what I mean? And is like when what's the line with Brad Pitt? Whatever. That's not for me, but that's something when I've seen this movie because it's like this was a movie that I was hoping to get a screening to because it's not one that I wanted to deal with the normal conundrum of having to pay money for and figure this question out. And now that it's whatever, it's past. And now I've been thinking about like
the same way with Tom Cruise.
that's the thing, right? Because it's like are all because like no, but like you could make he's the face of something that I find deeply problematic. Like he is the public face of that. So like that, I think that's the question that's been on my mind is where do where do I draw lines? You know what I mean? And are they always inherently arbitrary? Kind of, you know what I mean?
I
Like
think it's really interesting that you're asking that because also I think with Brad Pitt, I don't know whether it's his publicity team or what, but when we were walking in, I hope she doesn't mind that I share this, but my friend Jess, who does all of the pop culture stuff, she
yeah.
was like, "Wait a second, did Brad Pitt do something at some point?" And like, it's not really top of mind for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Listen, I don't actually remember. I remember there's that plane incident with Angelina Jolie and
Yeah.
their kids. I actually don't even know what came of that. And I know that he has been kind of doing some less movies, but still working. And this is a huge one. And I have no idea as a society if we ever even acknowledge that. So, like, I really
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah. It's just a weird thing because it's one of those like I'm not going to ever see another new Johnny Depp movie ever again. I'm not going to do it. And it's like, so wait, is the line that because Johnny Depp made it a whole thing, like made that whole court case, is that where the line is? Whereas like, everybody's quiet on the Brad Pitt front, so I get to live in blissful ignorance. Is like, but then is that okay? Or am I just like,
Well, I get you totally, DJ. And I
yeah,
think for me, unfortunately, and I don't think this is where the line should be for me, but this is where the line is for me. If it's distracting me during a movie, then it's not fun for me and I don't watch it. So, like, a la Mel Gibson, I can't pay attention to the movie because
yeah,
it's what I'm thinking about. So I've decided that's not where my support is going. It's not even
yeah,
fun to watch. Brad Pitt, the second the movie started, because it hasn't been a whole to do.
yeah, and
I wasn't thinking about it not one time other than when we walked in and she was like, "Wait, was there a thing?" So to me, that's where my personal line is just, can I watch the movie without thinking about it or not? I haven't seen a Johnny movie since, so I don't know if I would be able to. Who I wasn't able to do it with was Kevin Spacey. I went back to rewatch American Beauty, one of my favorite movies, and I was like, "Oh, I literally can't concentrate right now."
yeah,
So
yeah. It's interesting, and it's a little for me. It's a little different if it's past tense. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like,
yep.
which obviously it's not. And just you and I have mentioned this before, but just for the audience, this is not me saying you shouldn't go to F1. This is me
No.
musing personally about my own thoughts about where my because that's the other thing that I thought about. I was like, well, it's kind of easier for me to write off Johnny Depp because he hasn't been in anything I've liked for years. Brad Pitt's an actor I like that's been in things that I like, and he continues to do things that I like. And so it's like, is that why I'm willing to give him a pass? It's
Or
like
like
that's kind
how
of messed
big
up on my
somebody's
part.
role is. Like somebody
Yeah.
mentioned to me the other day, not to make the show political, but they were like something. Donald Trump was horrible in Home Alone 2 or whatever it was, and I was like, like there's some people who make like tiny appearances throughout different movies, and I'm like, does that make a difference? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm super with you. It did come up, and I don't think that there's a right answer, and I really try not to judge anybody for that. I judge much more because we are in this space, DJ. when people are giving airtime to people to discuss their personal opinions, like interviewing people that I believe should not have bigger platforms, like when you allow Kanye on your show to spread absolute like hate. And sometimes I think it's important to interview people so that people can see what their real thoughts are. But sometimes I'm just like, I can't believe we just gave this person a platform to continue.
Like, let's say you're like, just hypothetically, you're the, governor of California, and you're like, I want to do a podcast, and I'm going to have all these fascists on, propagandists. Like, literally, that's their thing, is propagandists. Like, what are we doing? What's happening right now?
Yeah. I'm specifically talking about entertainment, but I understand where you're coming from.
It's a tricky thing, and people's lines are going to be different, and I'm not necessarily here to judge anybody's. But it's just something I was thinking about in relation to this, because it's a movie that looks, even though similar to you. And by the way, I should mention, I think Roxy and I both know Dale Earnhardt and Danica Patrick don't drive F1 cars. That's not how they race. They're just two racers that we happen to be able to name. But I don't care about F1. But this looks like a movie I would enjoy. You know what I mean? So anyway, whatever. That's not something we're going to figure out today. What we are going to figure out today is how we feel about the first 3 episodes of Ironheart, the new Marvel show on Disney Plus. This is created by Shanaka Hodge, as the press has been, very upfront about. Ryan Coogler is a producer on it. Disney seems to want to flush this show because there's 6 episodes, and they dropped 3 this week, and they're dropping 3 next week. And the 3 we got this week are Take Me Home, Will the Real Natalie Please Stand Up, We and Danger Girl. The synopsis of the show is genius teenage inventor Riri Williams creates the most advanced suit of armor since Iron Man. Wow, that's everybody else been really dropping the ball, huh? Because it's kind of a plot point that her suit's fine. It's fine.
That's great.
It's better than I could do.
Yeah.
But it's like kind of the point of the show that it's there's some work to be done.
Totally. And I still have follow-up questions about the suit and how some aspects of it work.
Dude, there's one line. I'll say this right at the top. I enjoy the show. Ironheart does not move the needle for me at all. There was a moment in the lead up to Infinity War and Endgame where suddenly all of Marvel Comics were like, Captain America's Sam Wilson now. Thor is Jane Foster. Here's Riri Williams. She's the new Iron Man. And it was very plain like, oh, you guys are laying the groundwork for once to replace these actors, and that ended up being what happened. And Ironheart just didn't connect with. I haven't read an Ironheart comic. It's just whatever. So for me, the show had kind of a pretty big hurdle to clear. Dominique Thorne was in Wakanda Forever. I thought she was really good in that, but she's like one small piece of a much larger puzzle, especially with all the things that movie had to like deal with vis-a-vis the passing of Chadwick. And so going into this, like, wow, I just don't care about Ironheart. I liked these 3 episodes. I thought, are there things about it, like plot-wise, like if I were to think about it, I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense, especially in the 3rd episode. We'll get to it. What I liked about it is, God, the show, for me, is like, this show is charming as hell, man. I don't think there's a single cast member in the show that's not bringing the charm. Everybody's like, yeah, I'd hang out with this person. Everybody seems to like each other. This is a very loving atmosphere. I dig it. Where did I start off on this? I was going to make a point that was going to be negative, so I decided to get the positive out first.
It doesn't move the needle for you.
No, it wasn't. Wait, I like the show actually. It has like a hurdle. It had a hurdle for me, in that my initial instinct was like, you got to prove yourself to me, and I was like, this is a fun show. Although the reactions have been mixed, which I guess I should be surprised by that, considering it's a black-led show. So it's led by a black woman, so it's going to be controversial.
And you think that's why the reactions are mixed on this?
Well, let me ask you before we get into that, Roxy, how did you feel about these 3 episodes?
I think torn. You before texted me and you were like, hey, can you just make sure that you watch one of them before what we're into? Yeah. So I knew the assignment was to watch one, and I did watch all 3. So that means that I must have felt something towards it. And also, I like her character, and I like that actress, and I also like the gang, or what are they called? The group of
I don't know that they have a name, but it's one of. I like that the Anthony Ramos keeps pointing out, like, well, you guys are surprisingly pretty for a gang of thieves.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, it's a good. I'm glad you all acknowledge that this
Right.
is an unusually attractive group of thieves.
So there's Scooby Gang I like.
Yeah,
I wish more Eric Andre, but yeah,
shocking. Like, wait, was this? Did we cut him? Did we? Because I was like, oh, he'll come back, and then they're like, I guess he's not coming back. Spoilers.
yeah. But I like them, and I like a lot of their interactions. So I think I find it a little odd how lackluster I do find the show at times, because I feel like if this was going to be for any of us in this space, like this probably is really up my alley, in the way that it kind of feels like a CW show at times.
Yeah.
It feels like, young female lead, best friend stuff and trauma that we're dealing with, sometimes a little more lighthearted though, family ties and drama, and a Scooby Gang, and like that feels like a Roxy show to me.
Yeah.
But I found my mind just kind of wandering off during some parts of it, because it just was not grabbing my attention in the way that I was hoping it would.
Yeah.
While I found it easy to watch, I wasn't like, oh, I don't want to be watching this. It just couldn't captivate me the way I was hoping that it would.
Yeah.
I didn't think it would because of the way that they've been trying to bury this. So I think that this is a totally serviceable show. Like, if anybody was like, this show is awful, I would really push back on that, because it's definitely not awful. It's actually a good show.
Yeah.
I just was not that interested. I'm really interested in the best friend dynamics of them talking and figuring out like how she made her into the soup.
Yeah. That's one of those things that logistically, I don't know that this makes any sense, but that's the actress that plays Natalie, is Lyric Ross. Fantastic.
So I'm
great.
I'm super with you. Where that's why at the beginning I was like, I have questions. I was like, what?
Yeah.
And then when she's like, yeah, you don't have to be projected on anything anymore. You could just like exist or whatever. I was like, huh? But I don't care, because I like their dynamic.
Their dynamic is good. Both actresses are great. So it's like, yeah, sure, man.
And so there was like individual interactions and scenes where I'm like, this is so cool.
Yeah.
But then it was almost like the thread tying it all together that I just was not caring about.
I guess for me, I like the heist dynamic because I'm into that sort of thing. I think it's an interesting thing, conflict to give Riri. I also like that the show kind of acknowledges that she has a chip on her shoulder. Like, I think where the show is like, okay, I'm vibing with the show, is in the opening where it's MIT, I think, and she's talking with the two. I just blanked on the actor's name. He's in Community. He was also in Civil War. So he's a connecting through line. Wow, I'm going to kick myself for not remembering his name. Anyway, but she's talking to her two like advisors at MIT, and she's like, you just don't want me to shine. You don't want me to thrive. And the mentor, whoever, is like, no, what are you talking about? That's clearly not the case. We've given you all of these resources. And it's like, yeah, that's a good, I feel like the trajectory of the show is this ambition. There's kind of a twofold part of it. This ambition's great. That's great. That's awesome that you have that. But you got to be able to work with people. Like, you got to be able to like figure this stuff out. Mm-hmm. Whereas the counterpoint is like, yeah, but Tony didn't. What's the difference there, right? Why didn't Tony have to figure that out? So I think that's compelling, and I think it really just comes down to like, wow, you know what? I like this actress. I like Anthony Ramos. I like Alden Ehrenreich a lot. Keep giving that guy more stuff to do. He's great.
I forgot to mention the two of them, who are obviously really great, and I do like the neighbor dynamic, the Alden Ehrenreich, like with the cutting of the flowers. I just thought that was such a great like.
Yeah, and clearly that's going to be a problem. He's going to be, but and that's another one of those things where it's like, I actually don't know. Even once we reveal, spoilers for Ironheart for people that haven't caught up, when we reveal he's the son of Obadiah Stane, who's a character from Ezekiel Stane's a character from the comics. I was like, does that adequately explain why he has a whole armory of technology that he's unwilling to touch? Like, and it's one of those like, that doesn't make sense to me. But Alden Ehrenreich's like, so charming that I don't care.
He basically is emotional for me. And it's
Yeah, and once you find out the dad, that's fine. But the implication is he literally hasn't touched it. How did it get there? Like, it's one of those. It's like the worst offender, and I mentioned is there's a whole heist in episode 3 that doesn't like halfway through it. I'm like, wait, what? Like, because they're like, listen, if we bring in any tech, the alarm's going to go off. But you can set parts of the building on fire and attack security guards, and that won't set the alarm.
Yeah, totally.
What's happening in this scene? And it's one of those like there's elements of that stuff, but it's like, yeah, everybody's so charming and chill and cool that I'm kind of like, I don't know that I care. I don't know.
That's exactly what I mean, DJ, by the through line. Like the threads were not working for me in that moment, but the characters are.
Yeah.
So it was like anytime we were getting the talkies, I was like, yes. But then when we were doing some of the stuff, I was like, wait, but the stakes are strange here.
Yeah, well, especially when, full spoilers, the Hood's cousin ends up dying indirectly by Riri's actions, and it's like, wow, this is a lot heavier than the rest of the show's been. This is a heavy, and we're treating it. It's not like Iron Man when he's like, I kicked my villain into a blender, day saved. Like, no, the show wants you to feel like this was a guy that we spent time with, that somebody cared about. And Riri's she's not a child. She's like a young adult. She's like in grad school, basically. But it's like, she's young. Like, this is a lot for her to process. And it's like, this is heavy for this show.
Yeah. Yeah. I am excited based on the reviews that people are saying the ending is amazing.
Okay.
So I don't really even know what that could be.
Yeah.
I mean, universally, everybody who saw it seems to be like the last episode. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. Well, we'll find out. We don't have long to wait. Mike Joyce seems to suggest in the chat, I liked all 3 episodes. Looking forward to Mephisto next week. So I'm assuming his takeaway from that is that we might see Mephisto. We've been tricked by that before. Mike Joyce coming in with a save. Jim Rash. Thank you. Jim Rash is great. He's fantastic in Community. I also think
Jim Rash is great.
I think he's an Oscar-winning writer.
He came from either Groundlings or UCB.
He's great.
So good. So,
and it's one of those like, could we have used him more? Because Jim Rash is great. That's fine. All right, that's fine. It's a callback to Civil War. That's fine. Yeah, I don't think it's. And here's the one thing I will say. I liked Daredevil Born Again. This show, I think, looks better than that show did.
Oh yeah, but you didn't like the way that show looked.
Yeah, they went for this like muddy gray kind of thing that I like that this is more vibrant, more rich. We came all full circle. The tangent started with things that, if you think about it for a second, don't make sense. She says her suit is solar and wind powered. Solar, that's fine. Wind? What does that mean in the context of your Iron Man suit? What does wind powered mean? How is it wind powered? And also, you're able to power that whole suit with solar energy? The whole suit from some solar panels is what I'm supposed to understand.
Wind power mean the more you move it, the more power it gets.
That's got to be that's the only thing I can think that could possibly mean. Because when she says it, I'm like, rewrite that line, because that doesn't mean anything. What does that mean?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
It feels like, but truth be told, man, like this has been an issue with Marvel for like a long time, where there's this kind of first draft syndrome where it's like somebody's like, yeah, green energy, solar, wind, and then you never went back to like, wait, but that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense.
My theory is that like some people in the room don't want to speak up because they're like, oh, okay, maybe I don't have the comic book knowledge, and maybe that is a thing.
Exactly.
Like,
it seems silly, but maybe it's from the comic. And it's like,
but like you pitched it, so I have to assume there's merit to wind power. Like, oh, everybody knows about wind power.
Yeah. I feel like, Roxy, you, on some level, you have to be right, because I can't imagine movies like Madam Web and Craven existing without that being part. I guess the comics maybe, and it's like, it's not.
All the people in the room, like whether you're a comic book reader or not, if it doesn't make sense to you, it probably doesn't make sense to us.
Yeah.
Like, ask that follow up. Ask like, so wind power.
Yeah, what's going on there?
Somewhere?
Yeah. What is it? What's that in reference to? Because I don't know. When you say wind power, and I look at the mock-up you had, the concept art of the suit I'm supposed to be wearing, what do you mean?
What do you mean? Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I think it's just mostly. I just found it very charming. That was my big takeaway. I like these actors. I actually really like Anthony Ramos in The Hood.
Yeah,
Depending
me
on what
too.
stories you
Me
do,
too.
The Hood could actually end up being a really big deal if they wanted him to be, and I wouldn't hate that. Yeah. We do have some Discord questions. Mike Joyce, if Riri needed someone to fund her research, couldn't she just go to the Wakandans for help? I'm sure Shuri would be happy to help.
That is what I'm partially curious about. There's been like a lot of references to Wakanda, and people are like the finale. Usually when people are freaking out about a finale, it's because a big cameo or a big reveal or a big location.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be shocked if it has something to do with that.
Yeah. Wakandans, or you could also be a bridge to Young Avengers, like maybe one of the Miss Marvels or Hawkeye show up.
Yeah.
Like, hey.
That would be smarter for them to do that, because we've been teasing that for so long. With so many of the members.
Oh my God. And it's also one of those, like, are you guys even the Young Avengers at this point? Like, you're in your 20s, man.
The Avengers age now. Like,
yeah.
That's a
Roxy. So there's this.
That should be something that you tweet out, DJ.
Yeah. Well. For Father's Day, Monica, my son, got me this book called MCU. That's a history of the behind the scenes history, like a comprehensive history of how the MCU got started.
That's cool.
And it's amazing. It's actually, for what we do, it's incredible. It is kind of heartbreaking because they're like, Kevin Feige, they're doing the Italian or the European premiere of Avengers. Kevin Feige, who was 38 at the time, I'm like, oh my fucking God. Kevin Feige was my age when Avengers happened. Oh my God.
That's crazy.
Robert Downey Jr. was like 42 when they started working on Iron Man. I'm like, what the fuck is happening? What is going on?
That's crazy.
Anyway, if I said that age and you're like, that's still old, you're like, God bless you. Good for you. God bless you. The follow up to that, Leonard Kim asked, do you think we'll see any Wakandan involvement in the show?
That's kind of what we were just discussing.
Yeah, Ryan Coogler's name is on it. And
if so, it will be in the last episode. I actually didn't know there was only 6 episodes till you just told me that.
Yeah, I'm wondering if you'd be more open to this if they released it weekly, and you didn't have to motor through.
I think so, because I don't think my mind would wander as much, because it kind of was. It's not really fair either, because I just like to put this in play. I actually like the show, but to put it in perspective for a second, this dropped in a week where I saw F1, I saw Superman, I saw almost every episode of The Bear.
Yeah,
I watched half of Squid Game. So like, we're talking about properties that I don't really care about F1 and that, but the rest of them, like properties that I really care about, going into them was like so invested. Not to mention, DJ, you haven't asked me once about Love Island this week. So
what came up? What were we watching? Oh, because we're watching Poker Face, and every time we log into Peacock, it comes up. Monica's like, "What's the deal with this?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And she's like, "Roxy hasn't said, like, we haven't talked about it. I don't know."
You haven't asked me one time about Love Island.
Am I mixing them up? Does this have a fan component? I was like a headline that like fans are like, way too involved in the show.
Yes. You have to let me talk about this for 30 seconds at some point.
Do it. Right. Here's your window.
You want it now?
3, 2, 1. Yeah. Why not? We have one more Ironheart question that I want to get to. Don't let me forget.
Love Island is so crazy. It's on every night of the week. It is a insane dating show where the rules are never explained, and every week they do these competitions, but winning them and losing them means absolutely nothing. There's nothing that happens if you win or lose the competition. It just stirs up drama. But the competitions are things like, I'll spit milk into your mouth, and then you take that milk and put it into a bucket to fill the bucket. So they're doing like and then we make out, but you have to do it straddling me. And everybody's like, yeah, let's do this challenge. But you don't win anything. The challenge doesn't have you win anything.
The challenge is you get somebody spitting in your mouth. If that's what you're into.
Which I don't know if you remember this about me, but I'm an absolute germaphobe. I've never shared a drink with anybody not since 4th grade, not even a partner, not a parent, nothing. I'd rather die than somebody spit milk in my mouth that I need to fill a bucket with.
That's why
watching
you're
the
not on
show
Love Island.
makes my skin crawl, and yet it's amazing. It's so good.
Mm-hmm.
It's so wild. And there's a fan component where like you can break up couples and put them with other people. And the audience did do that to this one girl, and she had an absolute mental breakdown. And it was so sad to watch. And America is in a place where everybody was like, yes, this is hysterical. And I was like,
Yeah.
this woman who's a mother
Yeah.
um, is having an absolute psychotic break
Yeah.
and screaming top of her lungs. And you guys did this for funsies. I
Yeah.
don't even know what to make of this.
Vibes are bad. As we mentioned at the top of the show, vibes are bad. Sir, good job. I didn't put a stopwatch to it, but I'm going to assume that was 30 seconds.
I think it was a minute. But
That's fine. That's fine. You did good. It was good. You kept it tight.
The point that I was trying to make about Ironheart, though, is that it was not a good week for this to come out. There was not good press going into this. What did you say?
Crowded week.
It was a really crowded week, and I still liked it. So, and I hear the second half is better. So, like, I'm not in on this show. I wish that they were a little more in on the show. I wish it wasn't this week. I wish it wasn't dropped 3 and then 3. There's a lot of things they could have done to make this a better show for me while releasing the exact same material.
Yeah. Absolutely. Jake Hefner asks, what do you think of Natalie and having an actual face to the AI instead of another disembodied voice like Jarvis or Friday? So because I never read an Ironheart comic, from what I was seeing, I believe this is a thing from the comic. All the Natalie stuff, her showing up. So they're pulling that directly from the comic. We talked about it earlier. I am fine with it because I really like that actress. And she hasn't been in a lot before this, but it's one of those, like, I fully anticipate seeing more of you following this because you're doing great work on this show.
I think so, too. I really like her. I think that I think it's cool to have the face instead of just the voice. It makes it different too, and not direct comparisons to a lot of other AI. But the one thing that I will say is I also have not read any of her comics. Just because it is in the comics doesn't mean it works for people. So I don't know if it's there. And I've seen a lot of people not like this aspect of the show.
Yeah, I think you and I, you just gave the reasons why this wasn't the best week for you. I do think you and I are in a better place to receive this and I think it probably helped us with like She-Hulk and a lot of these shows because we did watch all those Arrow shows. We did watch all those. So I don't think we have this. I actually don't know what people want from these Marvel shows.
I think they wanted Ironheart not to exist from that specific show.
Yeah. But I think I feel like, and I don't want to like, people are perfectly allowed to not like stuff for a variety of reasons. But I do think you and I are more open to Marvel shows doing different. Like, yeah, it doesn't target a younger audience. Yeah, why not? Like, what are we doing? Like, of course, Sal and I just did an episode where we like reimagined the multiverse saga, and we kind of landed in this rhythm where like every year you get a season of Miss Marvel for the kids and a season of Daredevil Born Again for the grown-ups, and now you got both your lanes covered. And it's like you and I are big believers. Accessibility, yeah, let it be for more people. Why not?
Yeah,
have all these different stories, do more stuff.
So true, DJ. Hence why me forever reboot.
Yeah.
But, because I've really been trying to pay attention to what I call things. I think words really matter, and actions matter more, but words really matter. And I don't like to throw around the term, and nobody does, racist, just like willy-nilly.
Mm-hmm.
I do think it's very odd how much the show is buried after this show was created. And I feel like this show did not get the support that it earned. And it's hard to understand why when this show was created. Like, the same people that created this are the ones that buried it. And I really don't really get that. And there was so much negative talk about the show before it came out. It's hard to think that race didn't come into play at all here with a lot of the negative feedback and the burying of this. And I don't know. I'm not behind closed doors with these conversations. But it is very rare that we see a cast that looks like this. It's still to this day very rare. On CW for superhero shows, we had Black Lightning. But this show has like a lot of different types of people. It's very diverse. And I'm not saying that being diverse means that it made it a great show. But I do think that it that's the most interesting part to me, because we have such unique characters, and watching them interact with each other really elevated this show for me in a way that it wouldn't have been elevated if everybody just looked the exact same as each other and as the same as every other superhero show.
Yeah.
So I don't know exactly how to talk about it, and I don't know exactly how it played in, but why was this show buried? Why were people talking so poorly about it before it came out? And why is a show that's made like this, that's an actually pretty solid show, doesn't have like any love online?
Yeah.
It just feels like it has to be relevant to me.
Especially when you have examples like, and I don't mean to be mean, but when you look at something like Echo, and you watch Echo, it's like, well, yeah, this probably should have been. I'm sorry, guys, this probably should have been. You guys didn't have it. You know what I mean? And you compare this to that, it's like, oh, there's something here.
I agree.
You know what
with
I mean?
That.
And I'm not trying to bash Echo. It's just comparatively, this feels on par with like Agatha. Like we put Agatha out once a week. You know what I mean? And there's a big fan base for it. I believe if online chatter is to be believed.
Agatha had more star power, and I will give it that.
That is true. That is true.
I will
Anthony
give it that.
Ramos and Alden Ehrenreich, though, them boys in movies.
They are. This didn't have no star power. That one just had a lot of star power. But I'm with you. And again, like I don't know exactly where it came into play, but it is weird that this show was so buried to the point where I was like, oh, it must be awful. So then when I watched it, I was like, oh, the show is not awful.
Yeah.
Why did they do this?
Yeah, so weird. Well, we are running tight on time, and I want to let's start on The Bear, which dropped its whole season in one go, which that's also wild.
All right.
Okay, this is a perfect opportunity, real quick, Roxy, before you give your thoughts, I do want to say this is a perfect opportunity to bring up something that's been on my mind. It blows my mind that we've got a season of The Bear dropping weeks before Fantastic Four. The star of The Bear is also the star of the Fantastic Four, and they're not doing any cross promotion. No CG the Thing in the kitchen with the bear. You're not even going to take a scene with Cousin and CG over the Thing and have people share that meme online. What are we doing? Come on.
It's a really good point.
Yeah, it's right there.
Yeah, it's a really good point. I don't know what to make of that. What a crazy couple years for Eben Moss-Bachrach. Like he's such a star. He's so talented. Between being part of Star Wars and being part of one of the biggest shows on television, The Bear, and being part of the Marvel, oh my God.
Yeah, and before that, he was in the first season of Punisher, so like he's been having a good run.
Dude crushes. But okay, I just finished episode 7, so I'm starting episode 8 of The Bear. I don't actually know how many episodes there are, maybe 10, so maybe 12.
I'll
10,
look 12. Up while you're talking.
They did this last year. They do this every year, so it's not like this show decided to dump this season and they don't do that. That is what they do. I said it last year, and I'll say it again this year. It is at extreme detriment to this show that they drop every episode in one night. This is not a bingeable show.
Mm-hmm.
This is
10 episodes.
10?
Yeah.
This is a show that you need to sit with, a show that makes you think and feel about relationships and connections. And the show is worse when you watch it as a string with this many episodes in a row. It all starts to blur together. I really believe that this show should have dropped 3 episodes and then 1 a week for the entire run of the show. But it didn't do that. This show also did 0 promotion. Nobody knew this show came out. This show was dropped. And talk about burying something.
Yeah.
I am a diehard The Bear fan. I love this show. I had no idea it was coming out until all of a sudden I was like, let me, for the Live at the Roxy, do a summer preview of TV shows. And I Googled, when is The Bear? And it was like, in 2 days from now. And I was like,
excuse me?
Not a billboard, not a commercial, not a radio ad. I have heard nothing about this season of The Bear. So odd.
Yeah.
And this is the lowest rated season of The Bear on Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay.
So, and people didn't like last season. So,
I was going to ask that, but yeah.
So while The Bear came out of the gate with season 1 and 2, the freshman and sophomore seasons, I think people were absolutely madly in love with. And I was people.
Yeah.
And while they laid enough groundwork that I will watch this show till the wheels come off because I
Yeah.
love the characters, they've really gotten away from what people loved about the show in a way that's a little confusing, because we are out of the kitchen so often. And people who love the show, who were like, this really embodies what it's like to work in a restaurant, and the high speed and the pressure and the stress and the different personality types and the patrons and whatever. And it's really moved away from that and into these people in the world and what their lives look like.
Yeah.
And I think the audience has spoken and said, we wish you didn't make that choice.
Yeah.
I still love the show because I love the people. And so watching them, there's interactions, like there's a Bob Odenkirk interaction that's like 15 minutes in episode 7 with Jeremy Allen White, where they have this conversation that is so moving and so gut-wrenching and just heart-pounding that I'm like, oh my God. There's another scene with spoilers on cast. Brie Larson comes into the picture. John Mulaney, like everybody, Josh Hartnett. They're all sitting under a table, talking. Eben Moss, Backrack, our whole cast, and huge celeb, all sitting down there. You mentioned Punisher. There's flashbacks to him. So there are scenes where I'm like, this is the greatest scene on TV for this year. And there's so many moments and lines, and the dialogue is so there. But I just don't think that they were listening to their audience, and they decided to tell the story they wanted to tell. And I don't know whether that's the right choice or the wrong choice when you're an artist. Maybe you should just tell the story you want to tell. But it's clearly detrimental to the viewership and the amount of views and how people are receiving this. So I'll be interested to see when more people do what I did, which is psychotic, which is watch so many of these in a row.
Yeah.
I don't actually know anybody who's as far along in the show as I am. So.
Yeah, man. I feel like you and I have this conversation all the time where it's like, weekly, man, it's where it's at. Stop doing these, because especially with stuff like me, where it's like the dropping them all at once. It's like, I'm not going to watch that. I'm just not. And I'm 4 seasons. I've watched the first season. I watched a couple episodes of the second season. I'm not, and you're dropping them all at once. When am I going to catch up, man? I caught up on Succession. But I started watching Succession, and I caught up before the final episode.
I know.
Because they were dropping them weekly, and I was like, okay, and that's also a show that I don't necessarily recommend you binge. Like I said, I recommend you take your time on.
Yeah. I don't know why this is their thing. And also, I wish people were like, it is a comedy. I wish people would stop referring to this show as a comedy.
I just looked up on IMDb. The top thing was psychological thriller. I'm like, or psychological drama. One of those. It's
psychological drama for sure.
Yeah.
I wish people would stop calling this a comedy. Hacks is a comedy.
Yeah.
This is not a comedy, and so I feel like sometimes this show has an identity problem a little bit, where it's like you don't fully know what you disagree with your audience about what you are.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know.
Murderbot's a show that could probably, I'm glad it didn't, but that's a show that could probably have dropped this entire season. It's like, that's super bingeable. Yeah, man.
Murderbots. Yes.
Murderbot. Yeah.
So easy, so quick. Even a show like, I'm glad that Poker Face doesn't do that, but even a show like that, where it's like you could walk whenever you wanted to watch that.
Asks nothing of me. And that's not a criticism. It's just,
hey,
just come enjoy our show.
I love the show. I know that I can watch it in any mood and like at any time, in any order. You can watch it in any order you want. You could just pick the actors that you like and watch those episodes.
We're running tight on time. I think because you're still catching up on Squid Game and I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah.
But you've started watching it.
Yeah.
Good so far?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I like it so far, DJ, and I like it. I think it's better paced than the previous season. So far.
And I really like the previous season.
But I hear that the ending is awful. So
it's gonna bum us out. No, but the vibes are bad.
Hopefully, I disagree with people. I don't know.
Yeah, the vibes are bad. Give me good vibes. You're not the show to do it. But I've been catching up on Poker Face. I just watched the episode with John Cho and the scammers.
It's so great, right?
That one's a really good one. The one and the kid one.
Melanie
the one
Lynskey episode.
Yeah. the one where she's working with the kids. Nice David Krumholtz cameo. Love him whenever he shows up. Anything, I'm like, yeah. The one I did, the Gator one, I was like, this is a little too far afield. I'm glad we're it's a comedy.
Totally.
But that one was like this. When we're having a psychic connection with the Gator, I'm like, I think this one might be too much. This might be too
quirky.
much.
It's quirky.
It's very quirky.
Yeah. But you haven't made it to the Aquafina episode.
No. I think maybe that's the next one. I don't know. I do, and you might know this already. They mention this in it because she's talking to John Cho, the con man, and he's like convinced that somebody would be able to trick her. And she's like, yeah, I guess if you're a true sociopath, you could. And I'm like, they need to introduce that character.
Yes.
She needs her antagonist because like the shows, this is like Columbo, but to me it's also like MacGyver and Knight Rider and those 80s action shows I watch that are basically a case of the week. But then there's the one guy a season. MacGyver had Murdoch, Knight Rider had Carr, that's like the anti one. And it's like this show needs the one person that can for some reason cut through her lie detector thing, and they show up once a season. You're like, oh shit's about ready to get real because this guy showed up. You know what I mean?
Totally. I think that would be great. I also have talked a few times about how I kind of wish she was having a sidekick of some sort. Like, it'd be nice to have a little more, another character that we could grab onto.
Little Steve Buscemi on the radio, very little bit.
Right. That's true.
Yeah.
But she holds it down. So it's like, just as the show grows, what could make it a little different as a dynamic. Like anytime we have like a love story, like we had the Corey Hawkins episode.
Great.
And I was like, I could keep you forever. Like, I like this dynamic, maybe.
That's another surprising with the show is pretty much every death really hits.
Yes.
It's really like this part of the show is not funny.
Yeah, it's really well written, and they really give a lot of time to the stories, which is why when there's an episode like the alligator one, I'm like, I don't care, that's fine. Like, y'all are doing a lot.
Kumail's good. It was little, and then I watched the first 2 episodes of The Studio, and I don't think I'm going to keep watching it because if I'm being honest, it bums me out a little bit. But I find it a little bit for somebody who's been trying to get into the industry for a long time. It's like, wow, this is depressing.
I love that show so much, but I think that's such a fair take.
It's good. It's just fun, and it's one of the, especially since you like cringe. It doesn't surprise me at all that you like cringe. But it's
so cringe.
I was watching the Warner episode and defeating the purpose of it. I kept having to pause because it was like, oh my god, I can't. And I know this is defeating the whole episodes of Warner, and I'm defeating the purpose of what they're doing here. But I can't.
You're having like an existential crisis about this.
I just fucking can't, man.
Totally get it. Yeah, I think that's really fair. Some people are like, what are you talking about? This has nothing to do with the industry. And I'm like, this is literally, it's perfect. It's perfectly done. This is what happens. What happens.
It's brutal. But anyway, a lot of stuff. Let us know in the chat or in the comments what you're into. Like, subscribe, all that jazz. If you like this, go check out patreon.com/onlystupidanswers. I want to thank everybody that joined us live, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody. Sorry, everybody. Normally I ask you in the chat what you're into. We ran out of time. I gotta go. I've only had 2 hours of sleep, and I gotta go take care of my son. So I gotta go. But we'll see you all next time. Bye, everybody.